You're watching Own Your Wellness, and I'm really excited about today's guest. She and I go way back. She has an amazing show on my network, and not only that, I'm just so glad that she does, because she's able to show a little bit of herself and her brilliance, but today is really, really about her. So without further ado, let me bring on our amazing guest, Dawn Livingstone. Welcome to the show, Dawn. So glad to have you here finally.
Hi, Julie. Nice to see you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So, I know you, and you and I've had lots of conversations, but even recently, we started to get to know each other a little bit more on a personal level, and I'm discovering more about how absolutely, truly amazing you are. And I would love for you to share a little bit with the audience about who you are and how you got to where you are today.
Sure. Well, you can probably tell by my accent, I am not from the States. I am Scottish. I was born in Edinburgh, and I married an American in 2010. And we decided to start our life over here, which is what we did. We started off in California, and then we've been to Colorado, and now I'm in East Texas. We're just waiting on the really hot, scorching weather at the moment. I really had not such a good time in Scotland, really. I had a bit of an awakening about 20 years ago. That I discovered really through somebody completely independent and, isolated from myself and my family, that I had been giving my power away to everyone, and I'd actually been allowing people to abuse me. Wow. In many, many different ways. The universe brings you what you need to point you in the right direction, right? And I wasn't listening to little nudges that the universe was giving me about things not being right in my life. We always ignore them, don't we?
Until they get really loud.
Well, that's exactly what happened to me. I had ignored, my eyesight starting to go. I mean, this is 20 years ago. My eyesight was starting to go because there was something I wasn't seeing, right?
Wow.
And then, there's a few other bits and pieces and nudges, but the big one was when I took my children to a karate class one night. They were like 4 and 7, I think. And we went to this karate class, and I was thrown very badly. I landed horribly and quite heavily on my right hip. And after a couple of days, it was found that I had actually broken a disc in my back. And I was in excruciating pain. I mean, I've never, ever felt pain like it. And of course, the doctor was just, we just have to leave it for a little while. Here's some meds, have some painkillers, and you can chew on these muscle relaxants. I went away, I was rattling when I left, but I didn't feel like I had been seen. I didn't feel like they were listening to me. I didn't feel that they cared about my pain. And it turned out, after about 4 months, I think, being off work, I had to go back to work because my sick pay had run out. And the HR department called and said, you need to come and see a counsellor at work. We just want to make sure everything's okay with you. And we want to make sure, if you need any accommodations, we can make sure that when you come back to work, everything's fine. So I thought, okay. So off I trots to this counsellor. I mean, she was a lovely lady. And I sat down. And the first thing she said to me, Julie, was, how are things at home?
Whoa.
I know. And that was like my invitation, to my inner volcano to erupt. And I let that poor woman have it. I mean, she was such a sweetheart. I was full of snot and sobs, and I just cried for about 20 minutes solid. I told her how my husband was making me feel, how nothing ever goes my way, how I feel belittled, how I can't say anything without people, telling me that I'm wacky, or I'm crazy, or I'm a bit wahoo. And I was finding that, over the years, I wasn't saying anything because just for peace, do you know?
Yeah.
She said to me, so how long have you been getting abused? And I said, I've never been abused. I said, he's never lifted a finger to me. No, and I truly did not think that he ever would have. It didn't seem to have been in his nature. I said, I haven't been abused. She went, you are perceiving abuse as physical only. She says, from what you've told me, you've been mentally, emotionally, psychologically, and verbally abused. And when afterwards, when I think about it, I was bullied at school right the way up through college, and I've not had very good relationships since then. Attracted a narcissistic husband who belittled me and put me down at all time. And in that moment, that was me. That was my light bulb moment, Julianne. I only realised that I had been getting abused for my entire life was because I allowed it to happen. And it was like that realization, everything, it was like my world, like time stood still. That kind of.
I just want to say something really quick, and that is, I love that you took ownership for it, not excusing the behavior or the way you were treated, but owning it in a way that means you can change it. Because anyway, I'm sorry. I just wanted to highlight that because that's really huge.
I didn't have any choice. Well, I did have a choice. I could have taken it, or I could have just left it alone. I could have continued along in the victim mode, because that's exactly where I was at that time, because I was in so much pain. But no, I suddenly realised in that moment that I actually did have the power to take back control of my life. I didn't realise I had given my life away. I didn't realise I had, handed my sovereignty off to everybody that would take it from me, and control me. So it was a horrible realization at that time. But then the inspiration I got from that, I think, the motivation to actually step out and do something about it. And I think it was the following week.
Wow, that's actually...
It was fast, because I thought, I'm not putting up with this anymore. I can't do it. But that was it. Told my husband I wanted a divorce, and it was over. It got nasty for a while, but it was over, and I was able to sit within myself and not react to the things he was saying, to try and make me feel bad, to keep me in the relationship, don't break up a happy home type thing. But I really did. I don't know where I found the courage from. I really don't. So that was my awakening moment. And then after that, because I had been into energy healing, I started off with Reiki and a couple of other different things, but I'd been really curious about the vibrational side of thing. I think it was really just starting to come out publicly about our vibrations and how they can affect our lives. And that's really when I started to get into it, because after I changed my mindset and had done a little bit of inner work, things started to really change. My life did a 180. So I think my realization also was that you can't control your life from the outside. You have to control your life from your inside. And that was like a massive, massive awakening for me. So it's changed my life, totally changed my life.
I love that, because you took massive action immediately and you were able to stand in your power. I'm not saying that, you're not human and that you don't have moments where you're less than perfect, but the point is that you stood in your power and you were able to move forward and keep awakening and having these moments of clarity where now you're in this position where you're helping other people do that. And I'd love for you to share. Yeah, I'd love for you to share more about that, because I just, there's so many people out there that are watching and they're thinking, that's my story, or I can resonate with that, or there's hope for me. And I would just love for you to share what it looks like to work with you.
Sure. It's something I absolutely love doing. I get so much fulfillment out of it, especially when people tell me about their shifts. I absolutely love it. I got all goosebumps all over. I have like a three-step process, if you like. I call it EV. It's EIV, and the first letter is E for education. And that's the part I really like too, because I get to explain part of my story, and it often resonates with my clients, that they understand, and they usually have something similar. So it's about educating my client about how life really works. All this, people say opposites attract. I don't believe that at all. I think like attracts like, because we're all vibrational energy beings, and everything that we have learned, everything that we've been through, all our experiences, so our thoughts, our words, our actions, they all have a specific resonance. And that vibration is emanated into the universe 24/7. And the universe will do its damnedest to return you people, situations, experiences that match that vibration. So, for example, if you have been raised in an angry household, then you will have that anger vibration. So you're emanating that out all the time. So you will attract a lot more people and situations to make you more angry. And the same happens with love and joy and peace and happiness. If you're vibrating those, then you will get that back in your experience. So the education also about the subconscious mind and how it works, about the subconscious mind actually creating our reality 95% of the day. We only create 5% consciously. And having to, trying to swap that around and switch up some of the things that you do so that you get out of the familiar past and the familiar things that you've been doing, because we unwittingly create our future from our past experiences, because that's all we've got to go on, really. We don't know anything else. But in order to move forward, we've got to cut ties with the past. So that's some of the education that I'll give to my clients. And sometimes that helps with their awareness, because sometimes they've not got the perception that, and they just don't realise that life works that way. And then as soon as I explain it, I can see the penny drop, which is really great.
I know exactly what you're talking about. And it's just such a wonderful feeling, and just to see somebody else's light bulb turn on, just to be a part of their journey and watch them figure things out. It's kind of like shining the flashlight here. Look in the corner.
I think once they have that awareness and their change of perception, their life can't help but change, because they're viewing things differently. They then understand that they have the power to take back their life and empower themselves, to take back the reins and move in the direction that they want to go.
I guess something that I struggled with, and I think that a lot of people do, and I'd love your opinion, is I know that when I was working out, for example, I'm going to use working out because it's something that most people can relate to. But this is life. I mean, I'm using this in the grand scheme of things. Like, I always thought that I would end up getting to this level where it would be easy. And it never got easy, because the challenges got harder as I got better. And I think that a lot of people think of awakening as like a destination, versus like, we're going to get there and then you're done.
It's your journey. It's your way there. It's definitely not the end destination. We've got a lot to do, and we're continually growing and expanding and learning. That's exactly what it is. Yeah, it's not a one-stop shop. Once you reach a certain point, that's you. No.
Something else too that I love to point out that I think a lot of people don't realize, and I'm curious what you think, is whenever things have gotten easy, I get bored. So whenever I attain that level of so-called comfort, that's when I get itchy and squirrely. And all of a sudden I start creating stuff in my life that wasn't there.
That's the effect of your need to grow, your soul's desire to expand and grow in consciousness and knowledge. And that's a very normal thing. Absolutely, 100%. Yeah. Because if we stayed where we were all the time, we wouldn't just get bored, we'd get stagnant. And that's, again, that would be us creating from our past. We've constantly got to take that little step out our comfort zone and do something differently or do something new so that we can actually learn and grow and expand.
So when you're talking about stepping out of your comfort zone and growing and learning, does it always have to be big?
No, not at all. To change your habits, you can do something really small, like brush your teeth with your other hand. And I was speaking with a friend yesterday, and she had said, that she switched up the way she put her body lotion on her body. She used to do it from the feet up, and now she does it from the top down. Just little things like that. But that's exactly what it is. Drive a different route to work. It's so that you don't get bored with the same thing over and over again. You don't have to take anything massive. I think to get over certain fears, and me taking the TV show is a really good example of a huge step for me, because it took me a while to get over the fact that I could actually speak again, and people would hear me, people would listen to me. But I was always shying away from speaking or doing anything. And I had this mad moment one day, and I thought, yeah, I'm going to do this TV show. I'm absolutely going to do that. This is going to be great. I'm going to meet some super people. Signed up. And then the first day, I was like, oh my God, I'm so terrified. But there was something within me that just said, you're going to be fine. You're going to do this. It wasn't all roses to start with. There was a lot of learning and a lot of, a big learning curve there, definitely. But I honestly think it's been the best thing I ever did, even though it was such a big step. I would probably liken it to jumping out a plane with a parachute when I've got a fear of heights. That is exactly what it felt like to me. But it has moved me forward exponentially, and I think I'm probably further forward now than I would be in about 2 years if I hadn't done that. So now, because I gave myself an incentive, I had to do it because I signed up, and I had a schedule of guests coming on, and I had to do this. So there was that little bit of force there, and I think that little bit of pressure, and I think that really helps. Because if you've got a deadline and you've got other people that are involved in it, it's something you have to do, isn't it? You can't just go and hide and make a cup of tea and sit in front of the TV.
Yeah.
There's no point in doing that.
No, I totally relate. I think it's funny too, because that's my thing. Like, I've got this big race coming up on April 28th, and
Yes.
It's an Olympic triathlon, and I don't feel ready. I haven't trained the way that I should have. However, there's like this knowingness in the back of my head that's like, I'm actually doing this. I mean, I paid all the money, I did all the things. I'm doing this because I signed up. Otherwise, I could be sitting there talking about it forever.
That's true. And I think the fulfillment, you'll feel exactly the same. When you're finished, you'll be like, I am so glad I did this. What was I worried about?
Yeah.
Because the inner sense of fulfillment that you get from doing something that's different, it's something that you never thought you would do.
Exactly.
It nourishes your soul, and we all need that.
It does nourish your soul. I love that. It's a good way to put it too. We are going to go to a commercial break, but when we come back, we're going to talk about an event that you have coming up, and the reason why I bring that up now is because you just mentioned nourishing your soul. And I think that that's a good way to describe what you have coming up. Treating yourself with kindness, all these fun things, but it's going to be amazing. We're going to continue talking about different ways to have a breakthrough. We'll be back in just a minute. Welcome back, everyone. If you're just joining us now, I'm Julianne Meyer. You're watching Own Your Wellness, and today's amazing guest is Dawn Livingstone. And if you're a Yankee like me, you can call her Dawn Livingstone. That's kind of a little joke between me and Dawn. I was like, how do I pronounce your name? Because honestly, and I didn't say this to you privately, I was thinking it was Livingston, and then I was like, what if it is Livingstone?
Either or doesn't matter.
No, I appreciate. For me, it's always, hey, if I know you're talking to me, we're good enough. But anyway, you have an event coming up, and I'd love for you to tell us a little bit about it, but also how it came about, because I think that is going to be fairly interesting to the people that are watching as well, because we all like to know the backstory.
Sure. The event is called Quantum Awakening. I had a lovely lady by the name of Julie Scott as a guest on my show several weeks ago. And it was an incredible experience for me because when I was asking her questions, she was answering exactly what was in my head as if I was saying it. And I kind of had goosebumps the whole time, and the feeling that I just felt connected with her. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the show, she said exactly the same thing, that she felt really connected to me, and we thought that it might be nice at some point for us to work together. So we decided just to, think on it and see what would come up. And during the show, she had mentioned something that I was well aware of, but I hadn't mentioned it for a while, I hadn't talked about it for a while. And it was Greg Braden. And he suggests that it only takes 1% of the square root of a population of people to shift the collective consciousness. So, for example, for the US, say 330 million people, that's less than 2,000 people. Yeah. And for the entire humanities, what are we now? 7.5, 8 billion people on this planet. It's 9,000 people. That's not a big ask, is it? So he believes that if people come together with the same intention, then they can create this planetary shift in consciousness and in vibration. So, yeah, Julie and I are inviting you to join us on this, the journey. It's personal growth, it's positive change. And these Quantum Awakening events are going to be twice a month, and they're centered around the new moon and the full moon. Julie is she is a meditation expert. She does immersive meditation. So she's going to be doing some guided meditation for you. And I am going to back that up with some energy healing. So the new moon is when you do good things, right? So this is the time where I'm going to be putting the good vibrations in. The full moon is when you clear. So that's where I'm going to be taking the bad stuff out. So there's going to be powerful energy healing. And she's going to be doing some nice deep meditation exercises. And we've got lots of things there that are going to help with the education. We're going to have some books, some passages from books that can help solidify, people's perception of things. We've got some good quotes. We've got a good few things lined up. We're looking at about probably 45 to an hour twice a month. And it's only going to be $10 a month. So we think that's amazing value, really, for what you're going to be getting. So our focus is on clearing away negativity and replacing it with the love and the compassion and raising our vibrations. So we're hoping to contribute to a more peaceful and harmonious planet, really. So we're really excited. The first one's going to be on May 7th.
That's so exciting. I just want to highlight that it's really not even about the money. It's really about how it's going to help change your world as well as the world. Yeah. And I think that that's really important. And, there's a lot of people out there, and this is I don't know why I feel compelled to say this, and this has nothing to do with you, Dawn. I know that a lot of people are like, well, then why does it cost anything? And here's the weird thing about it. When it seems to be that if you don't put in something, any skin in the game, then you just don't show up. because there's no value attached to it, even if it's small. So I think that it's, we're lucky that you're not asking for much more at this point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's exactly right. I mean, if you don't hold a monetary value, or if it's not worth anything to you, so then why would you do it? You're not losing anything, right? So you may not turn up. So we would like people to come along. I mean, $10 is $5 an episode, every event. It's not a lot of money, and they're able to go back and do it, redo it anytime they like. So they're going to have access to all of them. So we think that is so much more value for money than there is out there, really. There's not a lot out there that do something that could be potentially huge for such little money.
Exactly. On that note, we have a video we're going to show. So I'm going to pop that up and watch and learn and love. Oh, wow. I love that. I like the music too. It's powerful. It just
dramatic.
It has this gravitas.
I absolutely loved making that. I had such a good time. That's partly where my creativity lies. Julie was saying to me, I like to do Canva. I like to make the graphics, and that's my creativity. And I was like, that great. I'll do the videos. We're cooking this. This is cooking. We're going to be great. But I absolutely loved that, and she loved the video as well. With the music, and she said she just loved everything about it. So.
Yeah, I think that is another sign from the universe that you're well matched with Julie, because
we get on very well.
Exactly. So, you mentioned your show. I'd love for you to talk a little bit about that too, because you interview people such as myself,
yes,
but amazing people that tell their story about where they've been and where they are and where they're going. And I think it's just such an inspirational message. And just for people there's a saying that somebody said the other day on an event, that it was, you have to be vulnerable enough to be visible. Yes. And so that's what people do on your show. So I'd love for you to talk a little bit about that if people want to come check it out, because it is a good watch. I obviously watch it. Otherwise, I wouldn't recommend it.
I love doing the show. The show is called the Transcend Succeed Show. Transcend, obviously, your pain and suffering, and that is one of it is my key buzzword, transcend or transcendence. My business was named after that. But it's creating a platform for people to come and, as you said, be vulnerable, to open up, tell their story about their pain and suffering. It doesn't matter what that pain and suffering is. It's about something that they've managed to transcend without having to go to the doctor and be supplied with meds, really. So any other way other than having to take antidepressants, etc. So it gives them the platform to come on and tell their story about what they found that actually turned their life around, so that they can share that with people. So people can then see that there are different ways of changing. There are different ways of healing and moving through something that is not serving them. Because at the moment we're kind of conditioned to believe that if anything isn't right in our life, we have to go to the doctor.
Mm-hmm.
And I want people to know that that is not the case. You don't have to go to the doctor. Something that the doctor might prescribe might be fine for a little while. It might relieve a little bit of pain, but it's only putting a band-aid on the problem. It's not going to actually get to the root cause. So try and find something that will get to the root cause of your issue naturally. And I've had so many amazing guests from all different realms. I had one gentleman on who was a master of numerology, and he was just incredible. And he ended up literally doing a reading for me during that whole time. So this is my year. This is my year to get things going. Things will happen for me this year, which is great. I've had a woman on that has transcended breast cancer. When she was diagnosed and she was told she had to have radiotherapy and several rounds of chemotherapy, and within she decided, no, I want to have a look and see what else I can do. And within 7 or 9 months, I think, she actually had a reading from a doctor, and it had completely gone, because she looked into, the power of food, of good nutrition, of doing it that way rather than, I suppose, going the more modern way of chemotherapy. She didn't like that idea at all. So that was just amazing. And I interviewed a gentleman yesterday who has a load of secret therapies from the East. So he was telling us about a few of those. Yeah, fantastic. So it's really a place for people to come, and they can probably sift through all the descriptions and see what we're going to be talking about, and they can see if there's anything there that resonates with them. But it's been going really well, and I'm thoroughly enjoying it. As I said, I've met some amazing people. And look at Julie. Julie and I are now working together.
Yeah.
Also met someone else, Peter Paul Parker, and him and I are doing.
Isn't that Spider-Man's name? Okay. Oh, I actually know him. Okay. He's been on my show. Oh, yeah. He's amazing. He is amazing.
It is Spider-Man, no. So yeah, him and I are creating a course.
I
course.
love that.
So yeah, it's been going really, really well. Keeping me busy, put it that way.
Yeah. And when do the episodes drop?
The episodes air live every Friday at 2 p.m. Central Time.
Perfect. And as everybody knows, it's available on demand, because you're probably watching this on demand too. So just pop over to her show when you're done with this one.
On demand. On the same network, Achieve TV network, on the Voyage to Vitality channel.
Yes. I love it so much. That's just, you do so many amazing things when you're open to the universe. And I'm saying you as in the collective. Like the people who are watching you, I'm talking to you. When you open up and are willing to take responsibility, when you are willing to look at yourself and decide what you want, there's that sense of clarity. Like, I think that people forget about that part of it. Like, they're really good at figuring out what they don't want.
Yes.
I'm guilty. I've been very guilty of that. What do you want? And it's kind of fascinating when you realize how much we operate from avoidance.
Yes, we more operate from, using other people's rules and opinions.
Exactly.
We go to school probably because our parents want us to go down this line of work, and it's maybe not what you're feeling on the inside, but we don't speak up and say, that just doesn't resonate with me. I don't really like that idea. I would much rather go down this. Or maybe they have spoken up and they've just been, persuaded to go another route. So we live by people's rules and opinions, other people's rules and opinions. And the minute we go inside and quiet the mind, just quiet everything down, that is when your inner self will be able to speak up and tell you exactly what's going on, when there's no distractions around about. So yeah, you have to delve deep within yourself, within your soul, to find out is what you truly want. And one thing, if you can do something and not want to charge for it, and it doesn't feel like a chore, then that's possibly the path you should be going down. Something that makes your heart sing.
Exactly. And that's the thing too. Part of that I want to add is when you think it's so easy.
Yeah, when it comes naturally to
Like,
you, yeah.
everybody knows this. I can't possibly, no, not everybody does. I think about like how much money could have made in the beginning of COVID teaching people how to use Zoom. Like my parents, for example. My parents learning, my dad trying to figure out Facebook. People, I mean, if that's your jam, why not? You're talking, and I really want to touch on this because, and then we're going to go to commercial break, but you're talking about quieting down so that you can hear your inner voice. And for those people that have no idea what you're referring to or how they'll know it when they hear it, how would you describe your way, like what happened with you so that you were able to get there?
Firstly, I would say it's not about when they hear it. It's about when they feel it.
Yes.
Yeah. Stop thinking with your 5 physical senses, right? Because we're talking much, much more than that. We're talking out of physicality into the more mystical, non-physical worlds. We don't have parameters there because we can only see or hear in a specific, spectrum or so. What I do is I just sit quietly. If you can just sit quietly and not have any distractions, don't have your TV on, turn your phone over and put it on silent, just sit with yourself. It's probably not going to happen instantaneously. I know some people it probably does, but just allow yourself some time and some peace just to get to know yourself and allow your inner self to come to the surface. It can take some time. Like I said, it took me a few months, but my head was in the clouds and totally chaotic. And sometimes that's got to be, it's got to die down a little before you can start to feel your inner self coming forward. But try and think about resonance as a vibration, right? So you know what I mean when I talk about a gut feel, right? So you'll maybe feel something around about your solar plexus. This is where you feel your excitement or you feel your fear. If you have a feeling in your solar plexus or your abdominal area that makes you feel good when you think about something, that is a good sign. And it starts off like that. What you can do also is to communicate with yourself and explain to yourself how you want yourself to communicate with you, if that doesn't sound completely wahoo.
I like it.
But you can say, I say to myself, okay, if I ask a question and I have a positive answer from you, I want you to give me like a goosebump down my neck, right? And if it's a negative, I want to feel something heavy fall from my solar plexus. And I get that every time.
Ooh.
So, yeah, you get goosebumps too.
I got
Talk to yourself. Yeah. Your inner self wants to hear from you. It wants to be acknowledged. It wants to be recognized, and it wants to be addressed.
I love that.
So if you can, tell it how you want it to communicate with you, that's a really good start.
That is beautiful. I've never heard that before. And I've been talking to people with, who are energy experts and things like that. But that's just so easy for anybody at any level to understand. Like, oh, I could do that. It's that easy. I love it. We do need to go to one more commercial break, but when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about this idea of energy and how to recognize it, because you touched on it, with like the goosebumps and all of that. But I want to dig a little bit deeper into that. And also, I'd love for you, so you have a minute to think about this. I'd love for you to share a story when you got something that just still is shocking to you that your inner self knew, like where you got the God bumps and you're still like, whoa, I can't believe that actually happened. So we're going to talk about that when we come back. We'll be back in just a moment. welcome back. If you're just joining us now, I'm Julianne Meyer. You're watching Own Your Wellness, and today's amazing, awesome guest is Dawn Livingstone. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
So before the commercial break, I was asking you a question, and it was, for those that are just joining us now, what is something that still shocks you, like the God bumps, like the tip from the universe that you're still in awe of?
It was actually when I was working with a client. It was a realization that I got, and I work very, very intuitively anyway. So I was at the investigation stage of the session with her, where I was asking about her childhood and some experiences that she'd been going through. And I was getting all these images and these moving images in my third eye. And it turns out that she always told me, I just feel drawn to you. And I just thought, an energetic thing, and she needs some help. So she's found me, and she seems to be quite happy with me. It actually turned out that from these images that I was given during the session, that I was actually her sister in an alternative life.
Oh, wow.
And I'm trying to remember exactly what I saw, but I was like her older sister, and our mother and brother were taken away. This was many lifetimes ago, but they were taken away. And I remember I was shown that I knelt down in front of her and held her shoulders to reassure her because she was scared. I was like, don't worry, it's okay. I'm going to be here for you. I will never leave you. And that is an energetic statement in itself. And it's like a bond, it's like this chain it puts between you. So that was, with two of us, we're all goosebumps. I think that's the most profound one I can remember.
Oh, I love that. I think that is really amazing, because even if people don't have your ability, or they're not as in tune with themselves to have that ability, when you are drawn to people, or even repelled,
Yes.
because that's the other side of it, there's probably a reason, Well, you don't have to explain it. It could just be, it is what it is. It's kind of like going back to this idea of energy. You ever walk into a room and you've just interrupted a very serious conversation? You just
Yes.
know it. You just feel it. There's nothing about their faces that is really, betraying what just happened. It's just, you can feel, it's like thick in the air.
Yes, I feel it often, and usually in places where there's large gatherings. I can walk in and I can either say, maybe it's 7 o'clock, I'll say, right, okay, I'm going to be exhausted by 9:30. I know sometimes that's going to be the case. Yeah. And sometimes when I get that, that heavy feeling falling from my solar plexus, I know it's not the right place for me to be. And usually within the first 15 minutes, I get things and experiences and incidents that will actually confirm to me that I should not be in there. I should definitely not be there. So it is a real thing. Listen to your body. Your body tells you everything.
Do you do muscle testing at all?
If I'm stuck and can't get a response, or I've got a little bit of a block in what I'm asking to see, then occasionally, but I don't normally have to. But that's a powerful thing too. Your yes and your no. Mm-hmm.
I really think that for those that don't know what muscle testing is, can you give like a little short idea so people know kind of like what I'm referring to? It's just kind of what you're talking about, but in the physical form when they're not in tune.
Well, your body is very, very powerful. It's very strong in the affirmative, and it is very weak in the negative. So what we can do is we can ask certain questions. I mean, for example, my name is Dawn. Is my name Dawn? And if I can pull on here, just with the same tension, then that's an affirmative action if I can't break that loop. My name is John, and I can pull it in it very easily, even though you start to put some pressure on, your body is answering you in the negative or the positive. So it's a very powerful thing that you can do. You can also do it when you're standing up, and you can sway. So if you go forward, it's a positive, and if you sway back the way, it's a negative. Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that. I want to share something real quick too, that how I was sort of introduced to muscle testing. And it was really interesting because I was probably 18, 19, well, I was 18, I think, years old. And I was working at Payless, which is Rite Aid now. They were bought out by Rite Aid. So I was working in the pharmacy, but I was working on the floor at that time. And one of the guys, I can't remember, he did muscle testing with me. It was, and it was fascinating because one of the questions he asked me, or I can't even remember exactly how it went down, but anyway, was that asking if I was going to live in Canada. Because at the time I really wanted to, but I really didn't think it would ever happen. And it was a resounding yes. And I did. I ended up moving to Canada and living there for 6 years. But at the time, I didn't consciously think that was ever going to happen because of anybody who's tried to, anybody who's tried to move to another country, it is not easy.
No, it's not easy. And I had an experience actually in one of the class, I think it was a theta healing class I took about 25 years ago. And I was in class, and this is before I met my current husband, this is before I even met him. And we were testing out, the muscle testing, and then we decided to try when we were standing up to see how that would work. And I don't know, the question just came over me, and I asked myself, am I still going to be living in Scotland in 10 years' time? Nope. And I went back and I thought, that's very, very strange. I've got no intention of, at that time, I had no intention. Yeah. And I would try that and ask myself the same question, and I would get the same response, no matter how I did it. And about 15 years later, met my current husband, and here we are. So that actually just came to mind. I had totally forgotten all about that until you mentioned the muscle test.
I love that. The body doesn't lie.
But the body can't lie. It can't lie. There is no ego there.
No, there really isn't. It's just, it is what it is. And, I've said this to you, and it's not my saying, but we keep our issues in our tissue. So it's like, all our thoughts, feelings, and emotions we carry around in our physical body as well. So whether or not we're even really aware of it, which we're not, most of the time we're not.
Not until your bulkaria erupts.
Exactly. Or you have cancer, or, something happens. But speaking of that real quick, I'm curious what you think. I've never said this before, but I've always wondered how many people have things like cancer and like that, but they never go to the doctor to find out, and they cure it themselves by changing their diet and doing these things because they don't feel well.
I think there's a lot more people out there doing that now. They're understanding the really harsh impact that, modern medicine has on the physical body. Yeah. Like the chemotherapy, not just killing the cancer cells, but kills the good cells as well. And that's really not what you want, but it's pushed really, really hard. I think it's more coming to the forefront that, nutrition, if your body is not well, it has an innate ability to heal itself if you give it the correct conditions. So if you're giving it the right environment, and your environment in this case, I would say, is not just what you're feeding it, it's what you're feeding it mentally as well. So it's not just the body, it's the physical body, and it is the mind. So you've got your emotions, your mental side, your physical side, and your spirituality as well. It's holistic. Healing is holistic. Your physical body just bears the brunt of all the issues. Because if you have got an imbalance in one or more of those, then it'll manifest itself physically, because that's the densest part of our reality. So it's really your body just saying, there's something not quite right here. I don't like what you're doing. Pay attention, or this is just going to get worse. And by the time you're diagnosed with cancer, it's really just your body's way of saying, help me. You're overwhelming me. Or it's maybe that that person is eating all the wrong foods. They're consuming way too much alcohol, which is toxic within itself, And this is the sort of thing, you can look at it with much fresher eyes once you understand that you can't just treat the physical body by treating the physical body. You've got to go in all the other different bodies as well.
Exactly.
because they're all connected, and it's all in one whole. You've got to do it all together.
I love that. On that note, we're about to finish up. I think that that was just a really good way to sort of end that part of the conversation. But I would love for you to share again about this event that you have coming up. We've got about a minute left,
Sure.
and just as many details as you can in a minute.
Sure. Okay. The event is Quantum Awakening events. They're going to be twice monthly on the full moon and the new moon. You can sign up on my website, dawnlivingstone.com or voyageoftranscendence.com. Just scroll down till you see Quantum Awakening, and then you can register there. It's only $10 a month, and we are aiming to change not just your vibration, but collectively the vibration of the planet, so that we can live a more prosperous and happy and more peaceful life.
I just love that. And, for those that think, oh, it's just me, I always love the story about the mosquito. You don't think you can make a difference? Well,
yeah, look at the size of the mosquito. Yeah,
the mosquito in your room at night when you're trying
yes,
to go to sleep. Definitely does make a difference.
it does.
But anyway, Dawn, I just want to say thank you so much for being on the show today. It has been an absolute pleasure having you here. I just thank you for the knowledge that you shared with everyone. And
my pleasure.
I think that this event that you are creating with your friend is going to be absolutely amazing. And I call her friend because she is now at this point.
She is, yes, absolutely. Yeah, we are very excited to get started with it in about 3 weeks' time.
I love that. On that note, that is all the time that we have, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your week, and we will see you again next Thursday.